This mother has been charged with strangling her 3 young children. Her lawyers blame postpartum depression, and her husband is standing by her. But prosecutors say she knew exactly what she was doing.
Something that she's planning to kill these 3 kids.
Her attorney telling the judge she was over-medicated for postpartum depression and anxiety. He says she was prescribed a dozen medications in 4 months and had just spent a week in a psychiatric hospital.
Imagine getting to your home after getting everyone takeout for dinner and the house is dead silent. You are left puzzled because you have 3 loud children and a wife who is usually playing with them. You look around, you see no one. You start to check each of the rooms they usually hang out in, and each is empty. Your heart starts pounding, fear and anxiety grip you. The silence is deafening, the oxygen suffocating. And there in the bedroom you find blood. It becomes apparent that something ominous had happened while you were away. As much as I love for this to be a scene from a movie, it was unfortunately the reality of Patrick Clancy on the 24th of January, 2023. Welcome back to my channel, Mom, My Dearest. I started this channel because I just wanted to bring awareness to mental illness with moms, and just realizing that moms do need help after they have a baby. Like they say, it takes a village. I am not a journalist. I am not a health professional. I just find these stories interesting, and it's no judgment. I don't judge any of these moms because it's hard being a mother. So this story is about Lindsay Clancy. I'm not sure if I'm saying her name correctly. Lindsay Marie Clancy. On the 24th of January 2023, Patrick was working from his basement at home when his wife, Lindsay, sent him a message asking if he'd want to order takeout from the 3-5 restaurant in Plymouth. The restaurant was at least 25 minutes away from their home. Knowing his wife, this was an unusual request from her, since whenever they ordered food, they ordered from a location closer to them. Yet he never thought much of it. Some minutes later, he left and she asked him to pick up some meds en route for the kids as well. Once he got there, however, he wasn't sure which medications he was supposed to pick up and needed her to confirm what exactly he was supposed to get. His first call went unanswered, but she called later and told him what he needed to get. He picked it up, and once he had both medications and food, he headed home. He entered the house, and instead of being greeted with loud cries and laughter, he was met with silence. Not the children are asleep kind of silence, but the eerie kind, the kind that makes your blood run cold and leaves you anxious. Worried, he started calling out to them, but had no response. He then called his wife's mobile phone, and it went unanswered. At this point, he was becoming worried and decided to move around, seeing and searching for her and the children. Instinctively, he headed towards their bedroom and tried opening the door, but it was locked. He forces his way in, and surely enough, his fears are confirmed. Something had indeed happened, but what exactly he couldn't say. The only thing he knew at the moment was that there was blood in front of the full-length mirror in the room, blood that was not there when he left the house. It didn't take him long to notice that the window was also open, almost as though someone or something had fallen out of the window. He rushes downstairs to take a look, and there in the backyard, he sees his wife lying on the ground. Her wrist and neck had been cut, but thankfully they had stopped bleeding. He calls 911 and reports the situation. He asks his wife what happened, and she tells him that she tried to kill herself by cutting her wrist and throwing herself out of the window. As scary as that was to hear, he was grateful that she was still alive. But one thing bothered him. Where were the kids? He asks her, and she tells him to check the basement. Once the emergency services arrived, he left her to go find the kids. He called out to them, hoping they'd respond, but none did, and once he was in the basement, he realized why. The kids were all deceased, or so he thought. He screams in agony and pain. How else do you handle the horrid sight and the shock of seeing your children lying lifeless? There is no way anyone could be prepared for that. He could tell they had been strangled with exercise bands as the bands were still around their necks. He found his 5-year-old daughter, Cora, and 7-month-old son, Kalen, lying on the floor in the den area of the basement. When it came to his 3-year-old son, Dawson, he found him alone on the floor in his home office situated in the same basement. All three had exercise bands used in strangling them around their necks. He started crying and shouting in agony, asking the kids to breathe. He hadn't ended the call with dispatch, and they picked up that something was wrong. They sent some of the emergency response team members to him. He could not control his pain, and I doubt any father would be able to in this situation. As the members of the team reached him, he shouted, "She killed the kids." The kids were quickly rushed to the hospital just in case, or rather, in hopes that by unexplainable luck, they'll still be alive. Unfortunately, Cora and Dawson were declared dead on arrival. Kalen, on the other hand, was rushed to Boston Children's Hospital, where his heart was successfully restarted, yet brain function could not be restored. After 3 days, he passed away. Why and how could this happen? Why would Lindsay kill her children? Was it premeditated? Was it an accident? While no one can say for a fact which of these situations led to her actions, the court proceedings did bring some facts to light. For one, Lindsay had been battling with mental health prior to the murders. She was on a number of medications and had taken countless others, including Prozac, Remeron, Seroquel, and Trazodone. But despite struggling with her mental health and being on meds, no one could have ever imagined an outcome like this. She had even told her husband some days prior to the incident that she was feeling much better and that she was also improving health-wise. Everyone who had interacted with her during that period also noted that she was communicating better and their relationship had greatly improved. In fact, on the morning of the incident, she took Cora to her pediatrician appointment. Everyone who met her at the hospital on that day said there was nothing offsetting about her. When she returned home from the hospital, she spent time playing with Dawson and Cora in the snow, and even sent photos to her mom and husband, who was working in his home office in the basement, the same basement where she kept the lifeless bodies of her children. The police interviewed her husband on the day of the incident, and he had absolutely no idea what could have prompted his wife to do that. She was seemingly living out some of the best times of her life. She was even smiling with everyone. So what happened to Lindsay Marie Clancy after the whole thing? Well, unlike her children, Lindsay survived the ordeal. She was seriously injured, albeit it was nothing beyond the capabilities that modern science couldn't figure out. Due to the seriousness of her injuries, however, the doctors who attended to her stated that they didn't expect her to be able to make a full recovery. She suffered severe spine fractures and spinal cord transection at the level of T5 and T6. This means she's not expected to have any functional use from her waist down. She also has to wear a collar around her neck. Basically, she's become a paraplegic and would need 24/7 care because she wouldn't be able to use her limbs from the waist down. But, I mean, I'm pretty sure as time goes on, she'll learn how to work with her upper body. And her husband, Patrick, well, since the onset of the whole thing, he stayed out of the public eye. From the court proceedings, however, it was discovered that Lindsay used Dr. Paul Zazel, the psychologist assigned to her. She used her cell phone to call her husband and left a voice note telling her husband that she loved him. This was on the 5th of February, 2023, and on the 6th, she called him again and spoke to her husband. It was revealed in court that she told him she heard a voice after he had left the house asking her to kill her children and then kill herself. She states that it sent her into a moment of psychosis, which caused her to do what she did. According to her husband, these were new developments as they had never happened even throughout her period of mental illness. This could have been presented as an argument and defense for Lindsay in court, but prosecutors did not buy that story. They stated that she had all the time to change her mind and stop her actions, but she didn't. They also believed that the whole thing was premeditated because moments before sending her husband out, she used Apple Maps to check how long it would take her husband to be out of the house to carry out her deeds. The prosecution also states that after attacking the first child, there was more than enough time to stop, but Lindsay didn't. Also, the kids were killed using ligature strangulation, which makes the victim unconscious for about 10 to 60 seconds. Becoming unconscious, however, is only part of the whole thing, as the perpetrator must still apply force to the neck region for 4 to 5 minutes after the individual is unconscious. This was enough time to reconsider, but Lindsay still did not reconsider. She still killed her children. Also, she used bands that could have stopped. She could have stopped using hands at any point, but she didn't. She calculated how much time she'd need, which is why she sent her husband as far as she did. Her defense argued that was not the case and argued that she loved her kids too much to do that. It was revealed in court that although she had become even more suicidal and emotional in the aftermath of the murders, she was unable to express any of it. She even told her defense that she wished she could at least feel something. Lindsay's lawyer, Kevin Reddington, argued that her case had not received the much needed attention and care. He added that women who suffered from postpartum depression or psychosis weren't given the needed attention, and the constant change of medications could have resulted in her state. To her defense attorney, she had constantly cried out for help and she didn't fully get it, except for the medication she was being constantly put on. Up until the events of January 24th, Lindsay had remained a model citizen, no criminal history or record, not even a driving offense. Her coworkers even wrote letters to vouch for her. Presiding over a case like this in court is no doubt a tough one, and the judge described it as horrific and tragic. In the end, the judge ordered that Lindsay remain in the hospital until medically cleared to be discharged to another facility. She was in such bad shape that for her, I believe, the recent court appearance or the last court appearance, she had to join the court from a hospital. Um, Her charges are murder, assault, and battery with a deadly weapon, and strangulation for the death of each of her three children. The odd thing in all this, her husband, who stayed out of the spotlight, finally came out asking that she be forgiven. In his words, the real Lindsay was generously loving and caring towards everyone. Me, our kids, family, friends, and her patients, he wrote. She was a labor and delivery nurse. The very fibers of her soul are loving. All I wish for her now is that she can somehow find peace. The fact that he can write this after everything shows you how sad and tragic this whole story is. But what do you think of it? I'd like to know your thoughts in the comments. And just let me know what you think about the story. And just I believe now also that she is in they transfer her to another state hospital. And I believe she's in, let me see, Tewksbury Mental State Hospital, and she's going to stay there. I believe the judge ordered another 6 months. So it seems like they're trying to evaluate her and see what happened that put her in this state to make her harm her children like this. So, and that's why I do always say that when you have children, it takes a village to raise a child. So, like, even your in laws, if you don't get along with them, sometimes, if you have a mother in law that's willing to help you, if you have a sister in law that's willing to help you, sometimes you need that little help, to get back to you and you know, just have a moment to yourself when you have children. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. Thank you for watching. Leave your comments. Let me know what you guys think. Again, I am not a journalist. I am not a health expert. I just get these stories. I find it interesting and I don't judge. I like to know what happened and, what was the person's frame of thought at that moment. And we all have faults that we need to work on. It's just some people, they need a little more help than others. So please like, comment, and subscribe. And all constructive criticism is welcome. And I thank you guys for listening. And until we do the next story, thanks for watching my channel.